I was 5 years old when I got my first console, the PlayStation 2. Before that, the only games I had played were basically Super Mario Bros. And Track and Field on the NES. My dad had it hooked up to this big-ass CRT TV in his bedroom, and although it may not seem like much now, at the time, it was the ride of my life. I couldn't even get past the second level in Mario. I sucked big time. But I was having so much fun that I didn't even care how bad I was. Seeing my dad burn through the levels of World 1, 2, 3, and so forth made me wonder how long you'd have to play video games in order to get that good, and I thought, I'm gonna be that good. It wasn't until years later that I finally gathered the skills and cognitive abilities to be able to actually beat Super Mario Bros., but I finally did it, and it felt like the culmination of my life's work. I didn't know it at the time, but that one Christmas morning in 2007 when I opened that box, that would spark a passion, an addiction to something that continues to burn to this day. Something that I'd both love and love to hate for the rest of my life. When I got the PlayStation 2, it was late 2007, so both the PS3 and Xbox 360 had both been out for 1 and 2 years. That, however, doesn't mean the PS2 was dead. It was still very much alive. The type of games that I played on the PS2 were basic as shit. Crash Bandicoot, Sonic, SpongeBob, Thrillville, and a ton of game adaptations of movies. At the time, I don't even think I knew what a PS3 or Xbox 360 was, come to think of it, but needless to say, I was extremely happy with what I had. 2 years later, my family got a Wii. We were all so incredibly blown away by it because, I mean, come on. You control the games by swinging the remote? No way!
Baseball! Bowling! Don't forget the golf! I mean, boxing!
The graphics were all,
oh my god! Holy
and you can make your own little you and your whole family, and then play as them in fucking
basketball!
But the thing is, the Xbox 360 and the PS3 were way ahead of the Wii graphically, so why exactly are we hyping this over
Yeah, baby! Steering the cards with motion control!
To me, Nintendo has always been the king of making kick-ass consoles and games that just obliterate the competition. In terms of sales, no, not all the time, but do people still talk about Marvel's Spider-Man as much as they talk about Smash Ultimate after over 2 years? No, I didn't think so. So why do people talk about Nintendo's consoles more than Microsoft's or Sony's? Well, it's pretty simple. Look at this. Now look at this. Look at this. Now look at this. Nintendo is better at making consoles because they're not afraid to get their hands dirty and their feet wet, because their fans are used to it. They're used to it when every time a Nintendo console comes out, it looks weird and there's some sort of gimmick. But that's what keeps it interesting. The Xbox and PlayStation have been almost the exact same thing for some 15 years now. Just updated graphics and a couple bells and whistles. Sony was headed in the right direction this time around with how the PS5 and its controller looks, but other than that, it's the same console on the inside, just better graphics. When the original Xbox came out, the main gimmick, the centerpiece of the console, was its online multiplayer, Xbox Live. You could play games with and talk to strangers, all the while going by Dark Master. That blew people away. Then the Xbox 360 came out and it got even better until they started charging people more for it. $10 a month just to play online multiplayer. Imagine paying for internet twice. This is basically what you're doing when you pay for Xbox Live. I was 11 when I got my first next generation console, or it was a next generation console. I had my first online multiplayer experience in Black Ops 2. I played Team Deathmatch on Nuketown 2025 and 11-year-old me was like, "Hey guys," with a high-pitched voice, and I got little to no response because had this have been Modern Warfare 2 back in 2009, everybody would have called you a and told you to kill yourself. But this was 2013 and everyone was somewhat used to kids strolling into Black Ops 2 lobbies not knowing what the hell they're doing. Online multiplayer was a game changer for me. It was next level shit at its finest. That was the start of my online presence in the Xbox Live community. Over the next few years, I made so many friends and had so many great experiences, it practically changed my life for the better. I learned to be more polite to people I didn't know, to know how to deal with tense situations, and most of all, I learned that you can't be friends with everyone. Probably the toughest thing for me on Xbox Live, and occasionally to this very day, is when I'm playing a game with randoms and we have a great time and have a lot of good laughs, but then at the end of our session we say goodbye and part ways. Those were always bittersweet moments to me, and I still think about them. I would join a friend's Minecraft world and we'd survive, build, and just have a good time, and he'd have a couple of his friends in the server, and next thing you know, I'm friends with his friends, and we'd go on to have the time of our lives doing all sorts of random shit in Black Ops 2, GTA 5, Terraria, and countless Xbox Live indie games. These were the magical moments that, for a long time, made me part ways with Nintendo and shift my attention to the Xbox family of consoles, because they offered you that experience that you wouldn't get just playing New Super Mario Bros. 2 by yourself. That was until the past couple of years. When the Xbox One came out, I wasn't blown away, nor was I astounded by the PS4. The only thing these consoles had going for them was better graphics and future support. Pretty much the only reason that new consoles come out, besides updating technology, is to tell the consumer, hey, we're gonna stop supporting your current platform in like 1 year, so if you don't hop on over to the next generation, you're gonna get left in the dust. One by one, my Xbox 360 friends started to move to the new hardware in the great Xbox One migration. I didn't get an Xbox One until late 2016, and it wouldn't last long. Playing the Xbox One, I didn't get that same magical feel that I did when playing the Xbox 360. Call it nostalgia or what, but I never did fall in love with the Xbox One like I did with the 360. I've asked a few of my friends that made the jump from PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4, and they said pretty much the same thing. One of them said, even things as simple as scrolling through the dashboard just felt so lifeless compared to the previous generation. I couldn't agree more. Just, for a moment, listen to the sounds of the Xbox 360 dashboard for a bit. Now listen to sounds from the Xbox One dashboard. Even if you don't have past experience with the Xbox 360 or One, you can somewhat hear the hollowness of the sound that the Xbox One dashboard makes. I was only on Xbox One for about 2 years, although it feels like much longer than that. I made the jump to PC in late 2018 when I lost a lot of hope in consoles. I didn't lose all of it though, because I thought that maybe Microsoft and Sony would take up after Nintendo and try to shake things up a bit. Maybe they'll realize that after doing the same thing for so many years, people would start to get bored of them. Maybe they'd see that charging people for online multiplayer is totally unnecessary and they'd wise up and lower the price, or completely do away with it and make it free. Maybe they'd make their consoles mobile like the Switch, or introduce some sort of game-changing new feature. But when the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 were unveiled, and they were nothing but faster, better-looking consoles, I effectively lost all hope in the future of video game consoles. Maybe I don't see the point, or maybe I'm looking at this too negatively, but you can't deny that Xbox and PlayStation have been doing the same thing for nearly 20 years now. There's going to come a time when newer graphics won't be enough, when people get sick of price gouging for online services, when the console exclusives become too much, when people notice that Nintendo is somehow the better console despite being graphically inferior in every way. There's still room for improvement, and next time around I really hope they try something new. I'm sure that with enough work there's still a chance for it to be revived, but until then, the console dream is dead.
In terms of writing, in terms of scripts, just in terms of how well made it is, it's probably the most cinematically ambitious video game ever made.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.